Some men are carved into history because they won. Cato was carved into history because he refused to lose. On that night in Utica, when he reached for his sword, the Roman Republic was already dead. Caesar sat on the throne, the Senate had grown accustomed to silence, the philosophers had learned to change their language. But Cato was still speaking, only now, not with words, with blood. Utica, 46 BC, a small port city on the North African coast. The wind of the sea was warm and salt-thick, even in the middle of the night. In the harbor, ships were waiting, for those who wanted to flee, for those who wanted to survive. And that night, nearly everyone fled. But there was one room, stone walls, a single candle, and in that room, a man sat reading. Plato's Phaedo, on the immortality of the soul. A sword lay beside him, and he had prepared that sword for himself. This man was Marcus Porcius Cato, and that night he would make perhaps the loneliest choice in recorded history. To understand Julius Caesar, you must first understand this. He was not simply a cruel dictator. He was something far more dangerous. He was a generous one. Caesar did not kill his enemies. He pardoned them. This was not merely political strategy. It was a message. I'm so powerful, I do not even consider you worth destroying. After the Battle of Pharsalus, when Pompey's army collapsed, Caesar pardoned the remaining opposition one by one. He sent letters, he made gestures, he kept his doors open, and accepting that pardon meant, in practice, accepting this. Yes, you have the right to build disorder. Yes, you own this game. I live only by your permission. Most men accepted the arrangement because it was reasonable, because survival is reasonable, because tomorrow brings another day. But Cato had seen something most men refused to see, that the logic itself was the danger. Caesar's most powerful weapon was not his sword, it was his mercy. Marcus Porcius Cato was born in Rome in 95 BC. His father died early. His mother died early. He grew up in his uncle's house, a hard, disciplined, quiet house. Something was noticed in this child from the beginning. Other children could be persuaded with reward, frightened with punishment. Cato answered only one question: is this right? If it was, he would do it. If it wasn't, no force on earth could make him. He embraced Stoic philosophy young, not as fashion, but as a way of life. Wealthy, he dressed plainly. Powerful, he avoided luxury. In winter he wore no cloak. In summer he went without shoes, to silence the body's complaints, to keep the mind's voice clear. When he entered the Senate, he resembled no one else in the room. He took no bribe. He could not be bought in any vote. And in Rome, that Rome, this was something almost supernatural. People called him Cato Minor, the younger Cato, to recall his grandfather, same name, same severity. But this Cato would be sharper, harder, more unbreakable. In the middle of the 1st century BC, the Roman Republic was dying, but no one said it aloud. The institutions still functioned, the Senate still convened, elections were still held, but it was all theater, a hollow performance. Real power lived in money, in armies, and in the men who held them. 3 men controlled this world: Caesar, Pompey, Crassus. Cato used one word for it: oligarchy. Cato stood alone on the Senate floor and said no to all 3.
Senators of Rome, hear me. Our republic stands at a precipice. We cannot allow the ambitions of the few to stand firm against this stage.
No to their laws, no to their land distributions, no to Caesar's command extensions. He spoke for days, literally days, hours on end, without stopping, to prevent a single piece of legislation from passing. This was the only real weapon a senator still possessed, his voice, and Cato never lowered it. Once, they forcibly removed him from the chamber. He returned. They threw him out again. He returned again, because Cato had understood something fundamental. To stay silent is to consent, and he had never consented to anything. In 49 BC, Caesar crossed the Rubicon. Roman law forbade a general from leading an armed army into Italian territory. Caesar broke that law, and history changed. Civil war began. Pompey and Caesar faced each other. Cato fought on Pompey's side, on the side of the Republic, on the side of the institutions. In 48 BC, at Pharsalus, Caesar won. Pompey fled and was murdered in Egypt. A handful of republicans crossed to North Africa, Cato among them. From there, they would continue the resistance, or at least try. In 46 BC, at the Battle of Thapsus, Caesar's army destroyed the last republican forces. Everything was finished. In Utica, the remaining soldiers and civilians were in panic. Cato organized the escape, but not for himself, for others. He filled the ships, sent people off, distributed the treasury, and then he sat down, alone, by candlelight, with Plato. Caesar's envoys arrived. They offered a pardon. Cato sent them back. The envoys came back. Cato sent them back again. That night he finished the Phaedo. He reached for his sword. His servants took it from him. He let them dress his wound, and then he opened it himself. Marcus Porcius Cato died in 46 BC at the age of 49 in Utica, alone by his own choice. In Stoic philosophy, freedom is not found outside. You cannot break your chains, you cannot tear down prison walls, but one thing always remains in your hands: your response. Epictetus would say it a century later: some things are up to us, some are not. Not wealth, not power, not the choices of others, but our own choices are always ours. Cato did not live this as an abstract idea. He lived it as a truth worth dying for. Caesar could take everything from him: his lands, his titles, his freedom, his life. But there was one thing he could not take: Cato's consent. If he had lived, he had accepted the pardon. That consent would have been granted, silently, invisibly, but absolutely. Cato did not see his death as a defeat. He saw it as the final free act. The one thing Caesar could not confiscate. His choice returned to its rightful owner. And this is why he wanted to read Plato that night on the immortality of the soul, because his body would perish, but his testimony would remain. Cato's story ended 2,000 years ago, but the question of that night has never ended. Every day we encounter small Caesars, bosses, systems, social pressures, the quiet consensus of the majority. And every day we receive small pardons. Just stay silent this once. Just look at the other way. Be pragmatic, survive. And most of the time, we accept. But every time we accept, we give the one offering the pardon a little more power. Every time we go silent, we endorse the wrong a little further. And one day, when we look back, we find that those small surrenders have built a life we never chose. To bear witness sometimes means only this: to say what is wrong in the room where it is happening. Even knowing the cost, it will not be heavier than Cato's. That night in Utica, Cato asked himself one question: if I must go on living in silence, what does living on mean? And he had no answer. You could ask yourself that question today. What truth in your life are you a witness to? And are you speaking it? Because history is written by the memory of winners, but consciences are written in the blood of witnesses. Cato lost, and yet 2,000 years later, we are here speaking his name. Not the names of the man Caesar pardoned, the name of the man who refused the pardon. Perhaps this is what freedom means: to still be speaking long after you are gone.